We all like to think humans are at the top of the food chain because of our big brains, right?
Right.
But what if I told you there's something even more important that brought us here, something even more deeply human?
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
That's what we're diving into today with Agustín Fuentes and his book, The Creative Spark. Get ready, because he argues that it's not just about intelligence. It's our unique capacity for imagination, that creative spark that really makes us special.
And Fuentes doesn't just say this is nice to have. He says it's woven into our very evolution. It's not just about painting a picture or writing a song. It's about everything. From walking upright to building societies, it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
So how do we go from walking around on the savannah to writing symphonies? Fuentes uses this idea of niche construction, which basically means we don't just adapt to our environment, we actively shape it to fit our needs.
Exactly. It's like we're playing the game of life, but we also get to rewrite the rules as we go. Think about early humans. They weren't the biggest or strongest, but they used their creativity to make tools, to control fire. They completely changed their world, and they were only just getting started.
Okay, so we've gone from walking on all fours to making fires and tools. How does that creativity show up in our earliest ancestors, even before they were building pyramids or composing operas?
Even those early hominins, millions of years ago, were laying the groundwork with small innovations that had a huge ripple effect.
Right.
Take walking on two legs bipedalism.
Oh,
You might think, okay, so they stand up. What's the big deal? But think about it. That frees up their hands to carry things, which leads to using tools, and bam, that's a game changer.
it's amazing how one seemingly small change can set off this chain reaction. You start carrying things, and suddenly you're inventing the wheel, then the car, and then boom, self-driving cars, all because our ancestors decided to stand up straight.
And don't forget about collaboration. We often picture the lone genius, but Fuentes says a lot of human success comes from working together, sharing knowledge, passing down skills. It's like that old saying, it takes a village. Isn't just about raising kids, it's about raising humanity.
Right. It's mind-blowing when you realize that everything around us, from the simplest tools to the most complex technology, is a result of countless individuals working together, sharing ideas, and building on each other's creativity. It makes you wonder about those early humans. What were their collaborations like? What were they able to achieve by putting their heads together?
Well, there's evidence suggesting that early humans might have actually played a role in the disappearance of their close relatives, the paranthropus.
Wait, are we talking about ancient warfare here? Did our ancestors wipe out the competition?
It's not as dramatic as a prehistoric war, but it does show how powerful niche construction can be. Early humans, by developing tools and hunting strategies, became so successful that they outcompeted paranthropus for resources, pushing them out of their own ecological niche.
Wow, so it's not always a physical fight. It can be about who can adapt and thrive better in a changing environment. It really shows the power of creativity, right? Who knew that wanting to eat a little better could lead to the rise of one species and the fall of another?
It's a powerful example of how our ancestors were shaping their world, maybe even without realizing the full impact of their actions. These seemingly small choices, driven by the need to survive and thrive, had huge consequences for the future of our species.
It makes you wonder about the choices we're making today. What will be the long-term impact of our creative sparks? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's stick with those early humans for a bit longer. Okay, so we've got these early humans walking upright, making pools, maybe even contributing to the extinction of a rival species. All incredible feats of creativity. But how do we get from there to the complex languages, art, and cultures that define us today?
It's a fascinating journey, and Fuentes argues that tools played a much bigger role than we might realize. It wasn't just about having the right tool for the job, it was about the cognitive processes involved in making and using them.
So those early stone tools, the old one and Acheulean, weren't just about putting dinner on the table.
Exactly. Think about what it takes to create even a simple hand axe. You need to plan, visualize the final product, find the right materials, and then execute those precise strikes to chip away at the stone.
You're saying our brains were literally getting a workout every time our ancestors made a tool.
Absolutely. Those skills planning, problem solving, spatial reasoning, they all rely on specific areas of the brain like the parietal lobe and the prefrontal cortex. And guess what?
What's that?
Those are the same brain regions that are involved in language, abstract thought, and even social intelligence.
Whoa. So that rock your ancestor held millions of years ago is the ancestor of your smartphone.
Uh-huh. In a way, yes.
Both are products of our brain's incredible ability to learn and adapt. It's like a direct line from those early tool makers to the technology we have today.
It's a powerful illustration of how our brains and our tools co-evolved, each pushing the other to become more sophisticated. And it wasn't just about individual learning. Remember, collaboration was key. Imagine those early humans gathered around, teaching each other the techniques, passing down that knowledge through generations.
It's giving me chills. Just picturing that scene, the sound of stone striking stone, the elders sharing their expertise with the younger generation, the flickering firelight illuminating their faces. It makes you realize that human connection has always been at the heart of our creativity.
Absolutely. And that connection, that ability to care for each other, was crucial for our survival in those early days.
Well, that and not getting eaten by a saber-toothed cat,
Yeah.
right? But I get what you're saying. It's not just about individual strength, it's about the strength of the group.
Exactly. And this is where Fuentes challenges that traditional survival of the fittest narrative. He says it wasn't just about being the strongest or fastest, it was about compassion, cooperation, and community.
So it's less about every caveman for themselves and more about we're all in this together.
Precisely. Remember how we talked about longer childhoods? Human babies are born incredibly vulnerable, requiring years of care and nurturing. That wouldn't be possible without a strong social structure, a community that shares the responsibility of raising those big-brained, helpless infants.
It makes you wonder if those early human communities were actually more egalitarian than the societies we see later on. Maybe sharing the caregiving responsibilities freed up everyone to contribute in different ways, fostering even greater innovation and creativity.
It's a compelling idea, and Fuentes points to the mothers and other system as evidence. This wasn't just about mothers caring for their own offspring. It was about the entire community pitching in aunts, uncles, grandparents, even unrelated individuals. This shared responsibility created a safety net, allowing others to focus on hunting, gathering, tool-making, and yesos, even developing those early forms of art and culture.
Okay, but let's be honest. Our capacity for creativity isn't always sunshine and roses. Fuentes also talks about the darker side of innovation, right? I mean, we invented the wheel, but we also invented weapons.
That's an important point. Our ability to create can be used for both good and bad, and understanding this duality is crucial for navigating the challenges we face today.
So are you saying that violence is just part of our DNA, something we inherited from our early ancestors?
It's not that simple. While chimpanzees, our closest primate relatives, display aggression, they don't engage in the kind of organized warfare that humans do.
So what's the difference? Why are humans so, well, warlike?
Fuentes suggests that our capacity for abstract thought, our ability to form complex social identities, and unfortunately our tendency towards us versus them thinking played a significant role in the development of warfare.
That's a sobering thought. The same things that allow us to build incredible things. Cooperation, communication, shared goals can also be used to inflict harm on a massive scale.
It's a stark reminder that our greatest strengths can also be our greatest weaknesses. But let's not forget the incredible achievements of human creativity, even in those early days. The emergence of symbolic thought, for example, marks a profound shift in human consciousness.
You're talking about things like art, language, those early forms of expression that went beyond the purely practical.
Exactly. Think about the difference between a sharp rock and a beautifully crafted hand axe, potentially used in rituals, signifying status or skill. Or those early cave paintings, depicting animals, hunts, even abstract patterns. These weren't just decorations, they were expressions of something deeper, something uniquely human.
It's like our ancestors were reaching out across time and space, trying to make sense of their world, to connect with each other, and to leave their mark on the world. It's incredibly moving when you think about it.
And it's a reminder that the urge to create, to express ourselves, is deeply ingrained in who we are. It's what makes us human.
It's incredible to think that those early expressions of creativity, from a hand axe to a cave painting, are part of a continuum that leads right up to us today. It's like our own creative sparks are echoes of those first fires, those first attempts to shape the world around us.
It's a powerful idea, and Fuentes argues that the same drive that led our ancestors to chip away at rocks and control fire is still burning within us today. It's what pushes us to innovate, to explore, to make sense of the world through art, music, science, technology, all forms of creativity.
So how do we tap into that ancient wellspring of creativity? It's not like we can just sit around chipping rocks and expect a masterpiece to emerge, right?
Well, maybe we can. I don't know. Fuentes says it starts with embracing our curiosity. Remember those early humans were constantly experimenting, trying new things, figuring out how the world worked? We need to tap into that same spirit of inquiry. Never stop asking why or how.
It's like that inner child who takes apart their toys just to see how they work. We all have that impulse to explore and experiment. Sometimes that leads to breakthroughs, and other times, well, maybe we just end up with a broken toy.
And that's okay. Fuentes emphasizes that failure is an essential part of the creative process. Think about it. Those early humans didn't perfect tool making overnight. They probably had piles of broken rocks and botched attempts before they figured out how to make a decent hand axe.
So we shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes, to try things out, even if they seem a little crazy at first.
Absolutely. Embrace those failed experiments because they often hold the seeds of something new and unexpected.
That's a great point. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from those aha moments when something goes wrong and forces us to rethink our approach.
Exactly. And remember, we're not alone in this. We are all part of a continuous lineage of creative beings, stretching back millions of years. Every new idea, every innovation, every work of art built upon the legacy of those who came before us.
It's humbling to think that our actions today, however small they may seem, have the potential to ripple through time and inspire future generations. It makes you want to grab a paintbrush or a guitar or even just a notebook and start creating something new, something that reflects our own unique spark.
That's the beauty of it. Your creativity is your own, a gift passed down through countless generations. Embrace it, nurture it, and never be afraid to share it with the world. You never know how your unique perspective might spark the next revolution in human ingenuity.
What a thought-provoking journey this has been. From those first tentative steps on the savannah to the vast networks of creativity we see today, it's clear that our capacity for imagination has been the driving force behind our species' success. And it sounds like it's not just about where we've been, but where we're going. So, to our listeners, I say, keep that creative spark burning.
Absolutely. Keep asking those questions, keep experimenting, and never be afraid to make something new.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the creative spark. Until next time.